Welcome to Acton Line, a product of the Acton Institute promoting a free and virtuous society. I'm Mark Townsend, producer. You can find additional resources in the show notes for this episode, as well as previous episodes of Acton Line at acton.org/podcasts. If you have a comment or an idea for a future episode, you can email us at podcast@acton.org. Acton Line is available to stream on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and acton.org.
Welcome to Acton Line. My name is Noah Gould, and I manage alumni and student programs here at the Acton Institute. Today we'll be talking about our Emerging Leaders Program, which is ongoing right now in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I'm joined by Abigail Ingram, Isaac Cantola, and Victoria Freile, and who are all emerging leaders here this summer. And so we're really excited to just have a conversation today about the program, who you are, what you're up to give a bit of context for our audience who may not be familiar with the program. This is an 8-week leadership development internship, and it's in beautiful, sunny Grand Rapids, Michigan every summer. We have hundreds of applicants from all over the globe who apply to participate in the program, and then we choose a cohort, and we have 19 this summer. And we are about 6 weeks into an 8-week program right now. So I think this is a great time to reflect together on your experience, what you've gotten out of the program so far, what you've learned from staff, from each other, etc. So I just want to launch in and think a little bit about, I want to hear who you are first. So let's start with you, Abigail. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Abigail Ingram. I'm originally from Southern California, but I went to college in Texas. I graduated from Baylor University, where I studied political science and history, and now I am here at Acton interning in the Center for Social Flourishing. So
fantastic. And what do you think of as next steps after graduating from Baylor?
Yeah, so I'll be doing a fellowship first in the fall, but afterwards I'd love to go to grad school and study something related to diplomacy, international relations, something in that space.
Fantastic. Let's go to you, Isaac.
Yeah, my name is Isaac Cantola. I serve as student body president at Liberty University, and I study theology and apologetics there. My goal is to do something in Christian higher ed long-term, just generally in the shaping and forming of young people. Loved my time at Liberty, but also love my time here at Acton working on the development team here.
And you mentioned your interest in theology and kind of public life. Mm-hmm. How does that connect to your interest specifically in Acton?
Yeah, it's a good question. Acton has always had a focus on how do we take the ideas in theology and apply it to our everyday lives in the everyday world. How do we create a society that really is free and virtuous? So when I got here, this was really a chance to flesh out a lot of maybe what I'm learning in school at the conceptual level and a more practical level. How do we apply the thoughts of theology to different areas of public life, whether that be civil society, governmental institutions, and all of that. So it's been great.
Wonderful. Victoria, how about you? I know you're a few years out of school, but tell us a bit about where you studied and what you're doing now.
Yeah, thank you, Noah. Well, I'm a lawyer from Venezuela, but I don't practice law in Venezuela. I actually work remotely for a U.S. law firm as a paralegal in business immigration. But my interest and what makes me study law in the first place was like this international human rights field, more specifically like bioethics and everything. So it's been a great experience to get to know like this moral or even religious approach to all these public issues.
Mm-hmm. And tell me a little bit about kind of that. I know human rights can be a broad topic, and there's a lot of different approaches to that. I'm wondering if any of the things that you've learned so far this summer have helped you specifically to center this conversation around human rights on a proper anthropology.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fundamental discussion when we get the wrong approach to all these issues is human anthropology, concretely, or let's say like this anthropology simply. And when you talk about economy or politics or law or human rights or whatever you can say, I mean, it's all about what we understand by human person. So do we understand a human person, which is imago Dei, like the image of God, which is a rational and free being, or what we do understand by human person? So, I mean, I think it's, as I said, the fundamental discussion here. And that's why maybe politics and economics as Christians or as religious people, let's say, should matter a lot to us, a lot.
This is a good cross-section of the cohort. We have Christian institutions represented, non-Christian institutions, both in the U.S. and abroad. We have almost 10 countries represented this summer, which is a ton of fun for just the dialogue and interaction between you. There's, I like to call the program kind of more than the sum of its parts. You have the work experience that you're getting in your departments, concrete, hard skills, experience working in an office setting. You have over 25 seminars with CEOs, leaders, nonprofit presidents, different scholars in the Acton orbit. And then those discussions tend to spill out after the formal discussions we have. I know you all live together in Grand Rapids, and so that those discussions continue. But I want to first hear a little bit about what specifically you're doing in your department. So, Isaac, let's start with you. You are working in our development department and also doing projects with our executive team. Tell me maybe about one kind of meaningful project that you participated in. That's something that we really try to emphasize is you're not getting coffee or just doing printing. You're doing meaningful work. So tell me about maybe one project you've worked on.
Yeah, no, well, and the development team keeps us busy, so it's been fun. I think the most meaningful project I got to work on was Donor Day during Acton University. So that was Wednesday of AU this year. And essentially what we did is wanted to give donors an experience to see what they're supporting and how that comes to fruition and tailor some experiences toward them. So there was a lot of experiences throughout the day, whether that was a reception in the morning. My favorite part of that was the offsite back at the Acton building where we had sort of a pizza and beer tasting. I got to help with sort of facilitation of that event. And I think the best part was just seeing how all of the donors really care about Acton's mission. Getting the chance not to just interact with them, but seeing them interact with each other, all being very grateful to support Acton and all very like-minded in that sense. It's cool to see a like-minded group of individuals who are interested in this space all come together.
Great. And then, Abby, you're in our newly formed Center for Social Flourishing. Many people listening may be familiar with Poverty, Inc., but of course, the center is a more intentional kind of effort to build those kind of work around poverty in the domestic space, and there's a new documentary coming out soon, so that's very exciting. Tell me about maybe one project that you've worked on with that team.
Yeah, so of course, as you mentioned, the big project that the Center for Social Flourishing is working on is creating what is essentially a sequel to Poverty, Inc. that focuses on domestic poverty as opposed to the impact of foreign aid, as the previous documentary did. And so myself and then the other two interns in that space have been able to look at a lot of the footage from all of the interviews that were conducted over the past few years, actually, and a lot of the transcripts from those as well. And so we've been cataloging those and really, kind of getting to see what goes on, in the behind-the-scenes production part of a documentary. And then also right now we are working on our capstone projects. And so I will be looking at housing policy and more specifically how previous housing policies have impacted the state of New York, and specifically New York City's housing crisis. And then the other two interns in that space are looking at the impact of the welfare state on marriage statistics. And so that's kind of the umbrella. But each of them has a more tailored project in that area, and it's been a lot of fun. So
I'm curious, we've all seen documentaries. Maybe we have a sense of how we think they are produced. Anything that you've learned kind of maybe coming in, what you thought it was like to produce a documentary versus what it's actually like?
So I think I was most surprised by the amount of footage that was recorded. There are maybe like 120 plus interviews, and they range anywhere from 7 minutes to like 3 hours. And so I realized that because the documentary really will be only about an hour and a half, so much of this boils down to creative vision because so many stories could be told with all the information they've gathered. And so what we see will be very, very intentional.
It's somewhat of the Michelangelo. You have the marble. You just need to find the horse that's hiding inside it. That's, very good. Well, Victoria, you're working in the programs department.
With you.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. the best department, the programs department. So where we put on all of our conferences and events and different strategic educational programming. So tell me about maybe one. I know you've done a lot of different projects for us. Tell me about one project that has been especially meaningful or you were able to contribute.
Well, Acton University was, of course, one of the highlights of the summer. I've never been to Acton University before, and it was so cool. I was in the registration table almost all time. But even that was such a good opportunity for, I don't like the word networking, but for fellowship, like getting to know all the people that come into this event. It is a over 1,000 attendees event, so it's a big thing. But maybe even my capstone project, which is basically planning a whole conference, actually 2 conferences from scratch, and like setting up like the whole speakers, topics, the venue, the lodging, everything. So yeah, I'm very excited about that too.
And what have you learned kind of about conferences specifically, thinking about the ideas you're trying to communicate to the audience or get them to explore together? What has been your takeaway from being able to go from the very beginning of what should the topic be, what should we focus on, to where should we have this, what's the hotel, all of those details? What has that helped you understand?
Yeah, maybe from the academic approach, I think it is important to have good people in these conferences, but also like good topics. Because yeah, it's so cool to have an awesome speaker that have like this trajectory and everything, but you also have to seek like that insightful lecture, for example, and for the right audience. Because that's another thing. Like you have to have like the right people for the right audience and the right message as well. And maybe like from the logistics, I'm very interested in maybe knowing more about development because it's so fundamental in this type of conferences. And yesterday I was reflecting on like, why do people invest so like this amount of money in such an event? Well, maybe like they could be doing something else. Like, for example, I was thinking in Venezuela, like, why would Venezuelans invest money in this kind of events for a country when maybe they could like give away this money to poor people and everything? But I was like, oh, that's kind of the socialist trap. Like I've grown maybe. And yeah, I mean, it's about transforming the culture. And from shaping the culture, then you're going to have like these long-term solutions that actually elevate the human person in their dignity, as Imago Dei, as I said before, and not like just not only giving them a fish, but teaching them how to fish. That's so important. And I think that our investors or our donors, let's say, understand this vision of the Acton Institute.
Yeah, absolutely. That kind of fundamental change of perspective and culture that then these different leaders of different community institutions, businesses, they can go back and apply these ideas to make lasting change that is actually supported by people in that context. Yeah, that's super important. You made this great distinction earlier when you were talking about Acton University, which is, of course, our largest conference and brings about 1,000 people from around the globe. You mentioned this distinction between networking and fellowship, which I thought was really helpful. And for me, that's the difference between, you can sometimes practically see someone's resume kind of floating between you when you're having a conversation with some people.
Right,
And you're like,
yeah.
okay, like let's actually have a real human conversation. You didn't just like appear here with your resume, right? You're from somewhere. You have a family, that kind of thing. And so that's something that I personally find very refreshing about Acton University, and that kind of deeper fellowship or shared conversations around a shared purpose. Like these are the types of things that we're trying to accomplish, and so we don't need to agree on everything, but we can work together on these things. I'm wondering if any of you have stories from Acton University or other people that you've encountered where you had a conversation that did go beyond kind of networking. Maybe there was a helpful aspect for your career or something, hopefully a good connection that came out of it, but that went beyond that surface level connection. Any of you have a story from either Acton University or another time in the program that you'd want to share?
I have one. I had a lot of mutual friends who recommended people I should connect with during Acton University.
Yep.
So it was fun to connect with some of them, message people beforehand, and those were never about, hey, how can we each improve each other's career, but more so like, I've heard really good things about you. This person has recommended I talk. Let's talk a little bit. And I had a very I'd say probably 2 or 3 conversations where we were just like-minded. We didn't necessarily talk too much about career, but just catching up, getting to know each other and all of that. The other one that was a little bit more fun was that I ran into someone who's actually an LU Online student, and so it was really fun to be able to connect with them and have that shared connection there. So
Great.
can't complain.
Fantastic. Either of you have anything you
Yeah,
want to share?
maybe I could mention our breakfast in the Potter's house, because it was very enlightening to get to know March Potter. And for example, I also met this wonderful man called Peter Albertini, and we got into like very deep conversations, not about our careers. Like, of course, we got to know each other, like what we do. For example, he's a real estate agent and everything, and that's very cool. But also, like, I just think that maybe sometimes God sends you like the right people to speak to you, like the right message, what you need to hear in that moment. And that's also like very enlightening about everything that the Acton Institute does.
Yeah. I just want to add that I think that one of the great things about Acton University, and also just, everybody here at Acton, is that, everyone seems so ready and willing to get to know us, as
Oh, yeah.
ELP.
Yeah, no, I've noticed that too.
Cohort members, absolutely. And so even at AU, there was a lot of discussion just about ideas and about, people and all sorts of different things. But it didn't really, feel transactional, right, as Victoria said, in the way that, most traditional, maybe networking kind of does. And so that was wonderful.
And it's more about like, who are you than
Absolutely.
what you do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So we have a series of conversations together that are a seminar kind of around a big conference table in Acton's boardroom, and we have, we'll have a scholar come in and discuss a topic. We've had Vernon Smith, who's a Nobel laureate economist. We've had, Acton's own Anthony Bradley give a seminar on Kuiper and Pope Leo and some different overlap there. So there's a variety of different types of scholars and practitioners. Wondering if there's, is there one conversation that has stood out to you? It might be the presentation itself from the scholar or practitioner, or it could be just the conversation that spilled out after a seminar. Any of them that have kind of stuck with you from just the past 6 weeks?
Yeah. If I can say, I think one that I really, really loved was on the differences between education and training. And I know that was facilitated by Acton's very own Dan Churchwell. And it was just such a fantastic conversation that myself and the 2 other interns in the Center for Social Flourishing took back upstairs, and wanted to continue. And so that was a really great one. We were talking about whether or not we, in our own college experiences and just in life, had been educated or trained in particular disciplines. And so that one definitely spilled out, beyond the seminar.
Yeah, great. We'll put the essay in the show notes. That's an Albert J. Nock essay that we discuss on the disadvantages of education. A very provocative essay. And as you mentioned, Dan Churchwell, Acton's Director of Programs and Education, leads that discussion. Abby, what is the difference that Nock makes between education and training?
See, if I had to summarize, I would think that it is that training is definitely more technical. And so it doesn't quite teach you how to think and consider broad ideas in the way that education does. And so I think that's really the difference between the two.
Yeah, and what is Nock saying that disadvantage of the education is?
Oh, that's a good question. I need to refresh my memory.
Yeah, anyone else? It's been a few weeks, but what is the kind of provocative thing that he says about education being a disadvantage?
Yeah, well, I don't remember the exact quote, but it was something of being, once you're there, you can't go back. Once you understand the world in a new way, you can't go back to that, and you become very dissatisfied with kind of how a lot of other people see life because they aren't educated. And there's a little bit of a lonely element to that. So, yeah, not discouraging true education, but just realizing that sometimes comes with the territory.
Yeah, and he talks about how there isn't a strict usefulness to education in the kind of utilitarian framework that we think about it. But there's something deeper there. He, like you said, he's not saying don't be educated. He's saying here's the downsides. Be aware of these.
Right.
That, in my mind, connects to another seminar we did with Father Robert Sirico, of course, co-founder, president emeritus at Acton. But he talked with you all about a great little essay by Friedrich Hayek on intellectuals and socialism, and that was really foundational to why he and Chris Marin founded the Acton Institute.
Right.
So it did feel like kind of a conversation that you were on the in to hear kind of how he thought about it. But Hayek talks about kind of these intellectuals who come up with ideas that are then promulgated to kind of the public, and how that he really dives into how that process happens. So he has this phrase, the kind of secondhand dealers of ideas, and maybe that's, if we're fitting together education, those people who are educated are able to discuss widely these various ideas,
Right.
and that's really why Acton is founded, to get those ideas out to the public and to those shapers of the moral consensus. So, did any of you have? What was your impression of that talk with Father Sirico?
Yeah, I mean, I could say that maybe sometimes it's not about the ideas, but how you communicate them. So the essay was also like bringing that out and highlighting that maybe we have to be like more proactive in like how we communicate our ideas, because people out there like are longing for the truth with a capital letter. We just have to like show it to them sometimes. So we have like the right ideas, we have the truth with a capital letter by our side, but it's just like how we connect with the people, like how we connect with their desires, with their I don't want to say feelings, because it's not about feelings. Truth doesn't care about feelings, but yeah, their deep desires in their heart.
Yeah, and I think that a kind of intellectual humility of
Yes.
not having a monopoly on the truth, but being kind of truth seekers
And truth
allows
servers.
Yes, truth servers. That's a good, a larger vision is helpful to have that attitude of kind of inviting people into that discussion. I think
Right.
that's something that Father Sirico does well, and also I think we can all learn to do more. Is yes, the truth exists; it's out there. We're seeking it, and that's something that we can do together. Any other conversations that you all had that kind of spilled out after the formal discussions we had together as a part of the seminars?
Can I highlight just another seminar real quick that I really
please
enjoyed?
do, yeah.
So I really enjoyed one with Anne Bradley on Hayek and the knowledge problem. I came into this knowing that I would learn a lot about economics, and that was very true. It's a very practical one. Hayek writes in a very unique way for economists, Dr. Bradley explained, and it was very cool to kind of map that onto my understanding of economics and understand why this decentralization is actually a very good thing, and that the impulse to centralize has so many consequences later. So that was a conversation I very, very much enjoyed. And also, any of those by Noah Gould are very, very well done. Those seminars are the best. I don't know about you guys, but
There you go.
I was going to just add that, yes, of course, we've had a number of seminars, on the nature of leadership. And I think those have all been fantastic because we've been able to kind of bounce back and forth different definitions of leadership. And we've really looked into the fact that we are even more concerned about what it means to be a good leader.
for sure.
And so any seminar, that touched on that topic was also amazing.
Yeah, great. To give some context to that, we do a series of kind of great books, leadership discussions. We read Marcus Aurelius. We read some of Abraham Lincoln's letters and speeches. We read Machiavelli. That was our last one, which is, there's very controversial discussion on that among all of you. So, but yeah, that's kind of a series to get us to think a little bit more carefully on what leadership is without just kind of reflexively accepting some sort of definition.
Right.
But Isaac, you were going to add something.
Yeah, and if I can pitch the program a little bit, it's very intentionally cultivated, which I really appreciate. I went into this wanting a good blend of like an academic kind of internship, getting that intellectual kind of growth and feel, but also practical leadership development. And it's been very intentionally cultivated. So thank you for that. We really do appreciate it.
Absolutely. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, it's been great because I've really felt like called out by some of the leadership seminars, but it's like in a good way, like, hey, I should improve these areas. And maybe like for all of us, it's been like this call of being actual leaders, like that virtuous leader, that leaders that also take action, but are contemplative. And that, I don't know, it's been so enlightening as well. And it's like, hey, it has to be you. Like, this is why we're here. Because if we've been given so much by the Acton Institute, by God himself, by all the circumstances in our lives, it's because we have a great goal. And we have a lot of responsibility on these issues.
Yeah, there's a type of stewardship there that's really important. Yeah, good. Good. Well, another aspect of this program happens kind of more organically outside of the work hours. Of course, you're here in our building for the seminars and discussions and work, but then, Michigan is a great place to be after hours as well.
Oh, yeah.
So tell us about some of the maybe small trips that you've taken or exploring the area or things that you've done. We partner with Grand Valley State. They have wonderful dorms that are a short walk from our building that you all stay at. So yeah, tell us some highlights of maybe just summer in Michigan.
Yeah, so we've been able to go to Lake Michigan, to the beach in that area a few times, and that's been fantastic. I heard great things about it. I'm from, Southern California, and so, being out in Michigan for maybe the second or third time, but I haven't spent an extended amount of time here before. Anyway, the point of that is that it's been amazing, just to be able to go explore nature in the state, with a fantastic group of people.
Yeah, how does it compare to the big lake of the Pacific Ocean?
Well, it's great. It's so much more beach-like than I imagined.
Okay.
I thought it'd be smaller, and I was looking out like, this looks like another sea.
There you go.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I think I've been surprised by the warmness of people. Like, and the weather is also very warm, and it's great, and I really like it. It's beautiful this summer here in Grand Rapids. But yeah, I mean, like the openness of people to have like these conversations. I remember we were in Midnight Express, a coffee shop near the campus one day, and I don't know, like this random guy joined us for the conversation, pulled a chair in our table, and it was like so good, like to have that kind of fellowship. Like we didn't know each other, but there was some kind of bond there about the conversation we were having, and I think I wasn't expecting that from the American culture, but yeah, it's been so great.
Wonderful. Yeah, Isaac, anything to add?
No, I mean, I grew up in West Michigan, so it's a good place. It's been good to be back here over the summer, close to home, but also just kind of enjoying nature and all of that. The Kirk Center trip, I'll highlight, although that was a little bit more formal, was definitely a fun experience. I'd never been up to Mecosta. It was great to not just meet the Kirk family, but also just see that beautiful area, that little hideaway where people can go live that contemplative life, and that was a fun retreat to be able to see.
Yeah, it's a fun little day trip. Yeah.
I was also just going to say real quick that one other great thing was, as Victoria mentioned, being able to go to coffee shops, together and to go watch movies out on the lawn, on Saturday evenings and visit baseball games. Those sorts of things, are really great in the city as well.
Yeah,
so.
it's very fun. I didn't mention at the top of our conversation, but I started my time at Acton in the Emerging Leaders Program. So I still have lifelong friends that we met during the program, and it was just a fantastic time of building community, and I have just very special memories from that time in Michigan. So I'm glad that it's been similar for all of you. As we wrap up here, I'm going to ask you to kind of see into the future. So we'll put some caveats on this, but I want to hear maybe one or two things that concretely you've seen this program might help you for your next steps, whether that's discerning a vocation or whether there's valuable connections or just kind of opening your eyes to other opportunities or options. Maybe, Abby, I'll start with you. I know I'll highlight here that you've published something in Religion and Liberty Online, so that's something we can also put in the show notes here. That's an opportunity for our emerging leaders, and hopefully that's a really great portfolio builder for you as you're applying to things. But yeah, how do you see this program potentially helping you in the future?
Well, first, I want to say that, yes, publishing with Religion and Liberty Online was great because I was able to get, a little bit of writing experience, or at least op-ed writing experience, which is a great skill to take forward. But also, I think one of the things that I've, really, really learned, and that's been emphasized in the past 6 weeks, is just the idea that leadership takes a variety of forms, and that the skills that are learned, can be translated to a variety of professions, and vocations. And so I think that because we focus so much, on character and virtue, that's one of the things, where cultivating that is going to be the most significant thing for me going forward. that way in whatever space I end up in, if I do study diplomacy or international affairs, global affairs, something related to it, or work in politics in my state or something, there are things that can be, kind of taken from this program to work in any of those spaces in whatever leadership capacity I'm in.
No, that's exciting to hear about how that character aspect is really relevant for whatever your next steps are. Wonderful. Victoria, how about you?
Yeah, I guess I've been like in this vocation discerning process since December or January, where I participated in Arete Academy program by Alliance for Defending Freedom, which is an ally organization of the Acton Institute. So I think I was very clear in what my mission in the world was, but I didn't know how to do it. Like I didn't have like this broader perspective of all the of all the opportunities that were actually out there in the world, and now I have some sort of idea, way better than before the program, definitely. So now I'm gonna go back to Venezuela, maybe like clear my mind and make some kind of action plan to get to actually do what God is calling me to do in the world, or at least what I have come with in this process. But yeah, it's been good to have like this more diverse perspective on everything, like politics, economics, academic and professional opportunities, even religion. I mean, like these different denominational Christians or different denominations, or even different ways of living the Catholic faith or Orthodox or whatever. I mean, yeah, it's been so enriching, actually.
Wonderful. Isaac, how about you?
Yeah, in a call we had way before the program, I had asked, what department do you think I should join? Because I was batting around a few options. And you had actually suggested development. And I'm very grateful for that, because learning the skills of not just fundraising, because it is more than fundraising, learning how to build relationships toward a common goal has been a very, very valuable thing. Learning the intricacies of interacting with donors at various events, how to easily slide in and out of certain social situations, but also just how to advance those relationships to build those partnerships. That's been a skill that I think is going to be transferable anywhere, especially if I work in higher ed. Development is very important work and very crucial. So that's been fun to learn, and just the people I've met all around have been fantastic. So yeah, those two there.
Wonderful. Well, thanks all for your comments, and this was great to get a little bit of a view into the program for the summer. If you're interested in applying to this Acton's Emerging Leaders Program, applications for the early decision will open in November, so you can go to acton.org/ELP, and then applications will be open through early spring, so you can look for dates on there. But thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for listening. If you'd like to learn more about Acton or hear more of this podcast, please visit acton.org/podcasts. Otherwise, we'll see you next week.